Shabri offered the bear to Ramchandra ji after testing them. What she did, she attached this property of sweetness to the bear. She validated the bear, these bears are sweet. जो भी स्वीट नहीं थे वो उसने पहले ही अलग कर दिए. एंड अगर लक्ष्मण जी टेस्ट कर लेते बिफोर ऑफरिंग देम टू रामचंद्र जी, वो क्या करते? वेरिफिकेशन कि वेदर द क्लेम्स ऑफ शबरी आर करेक्ट और नॉट. दिस इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन वैलिडेशन एंड वेरिफिकेशन. एंड चेकिंग ऑफ रिएजेंट, at what time we are receiving them and whether they are received at appropriate temperature or not, and before putting them into use for patient testing, whether they are meeting our acceptability criteria or not. Acceptability criteria means we have to compare their results with the either with the control or with the previous results. And sometimes we think in our laboratory, if we bring in automation, some equipment of very high order, then this can solve all our problem. But if our pre-examination and post-examination areas are not in control and we bring in automation, what all we get is automated mess. And these are the requirements related to internal quality control. We have to run these controls daily, and how many controls, how frequently, this depends on our workload and our policy of our laboratory or requirement of the accreditation body or some regulatory body. Then what is our IQC procedure? This we have to document, how to plot LJ charts and how to monitor LJ charts, and in case of any outlier, corrective action and preventive action. Then for quality assurance, IQAS for all tests, and where IQAS is not available, inter-laboratory comparison, and where inter-laboratory comparison is also not possible, then split testing. And when we are running this internal quality control or we are participating in IQAS, then this basic statistics, this is must. Mean, SD, CV, standard deviation index or Z score, and measurement of uncertainty. When we are performing all these activities, it is very important to ensure that there is no non-conformance in our activities. Our activities are as per requirement, as per our quality manual, as per our standard operating procedure. If we are working in accredited lab, as per international standard or some other guideline. For this, we have to conduct internal audit, and this should be conducted by some trained person. And in this, we have to cover our all activities of laboratories. And after this, internal audit report is submitted for management review meeting to see the suitability of our services and whether these services are adequate and effective or not, and whether they are really contributing to support of patient care or not. These are the different documents which we develop in our laboratory. And if suppose laboratory plans to go for accreditation, then accreditation is based on this international standard. At present, it is ISO 15189 2012 and NABL specific criteria 112. And it is not easy. Lot of hard work is involved, lot of paperwork is involved, you have to spend lot of money. And if you are going for accreditation, you have to apply to accreditation body. For this NABL, there is one document 153, that is the application form, and 131, terms and condition for maintaining NABL accreditation, 3 copies of application form along with 2 copies of quality manual and prescribed fees. These are submitted to NABL. And if you are planning for accreditation, first attend 15189 training program, then study your system, then do the gap analysis. and review all your records and documents, then do the internal audit, then management review meeting. Up to this point, this is important for all laboratories, and if you are going for accreditation, then apply. There will be pre-assessment, final assessment, and accreditation. And this is important. This 15189, this is a document for medical laboratories only. This is based on General Management Document 9001 and document for testing and calibration laboratory ISO 17025. And whether you are planning to go for accreditation or not, this 15189 is recommended for all lab because it is the right thing to do. And this is possible with the cooperation of all of us. And this quality, it has no destination, it is only a journey. And don't think it is burden on you. Work smarter and enjoy the journey. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you. And if you have any question or you want me to explain this statistics, I can explain it because the participants are very less. So I thought I will ask and only then I will explain. You were there yesterday also. If you have any query, you can. Measurement of uncertainty. What is measurement of uncertainty is whenever we measure anything, there is uncertainty associated with it. Even if you ask something, how far is Jaipur from Delhi? Somebody will tell you it is 300 kilometers. You will ask, are you sure? One person may tell you it is between 290 to 310. Another person may tell you it is between 250 to 350. And third person may tell you 200 to 400. Whom you would like to follow? Obviously 290 to 310. There the uncertainty is less. If you are going to some jewelry shop, you are buying a chain of 50 gram. Jeweler says 50 gram means between 49 to 51. Another jeweler is saying 45 to 55. Third is saying 40 to 50. Obviously, you will believe on the first jeweler. Or if there is difference in the balance, one balance is saying one balance 49 to 51. And how this measurement uncertainty is important in our medical field. Suppose for platelet, our measurement uncertainty is 2000. Morning we are reporting platelet as 50,000 and in the evening it is 53,000. Clinician may say कि now this has increased, but for you it is more or less same. 50,000 means with MU 2000. This result will vary between 48 to 52,000. 53 means 51 to 55. Both are almost same. And if in the morning it is 50 and in the evening it is 60,000. 50 means 48 to 52. 60 means 58 to 62. That means there is definite increase in the platelet count. And how it is important? What is the significance? How it is important for clinician? Although this concept is not very clear even to laboratory person at present, so it is there is no use to talk about clinician, whether they know this measurement uncertainty or not. Suppose a person is undergoing renal transplantation. For immunosuppression, he has given some drug and that person develops hematuria. We want to see whether that person has developed toxicity to particular drug or there is some infection or some other reason. And suppose the drug level of that drug is 17.2 and toxicity level is 18. Measurement uncertainty of one lab is 0.2, another lab is 2. For one lab, 17.2 means the result will vary between 17 to 17.4. And with another lab, 17 means this will vary between 15 to 19. With one lab, clinician is sure there is no toxicity. Maximum level with this much uncertainty is 17.4. And in case of another lab, this 17 means result up to 19. This may be toxicity, this may not be toxicity. Therefore, for certain critical parameter, clinician would like to ensure themselves they will send the sample to only those labs which have less measurement uncertainty. It is measurement uncertainty, not measurement of uncertainty. And how it is calculated, although this calculation is little bit complicated, but simplest is SD multiplied by 1.96, or in a more simpler way, SD multiplied by 2. This is measurement uncertainty.
How much it should be? Any recommendation of how much?
No, there is no recommendation.
Lower the better.
Lower the better.
One question about the 10x rule.
Actually, most of the people say you follow, if 10x rule is within 1 SD, then you can redefine your mean and you can solve the problem. It is, if it is between 1 to 2, that means there is some systematic error. Your results are consistently lower than the expected result. But I think in the new 112 now they are not including this. And one important thing which you can do, now there is one document, Clinics in Laboratory Medicine, March 2013 issue. There are many articles by Steen Westgaard, and there is one document on accuracy control. You can, because with these controls, what we are checking precision, not accuracy. We can use calibrator. We can run calibrator as control and see what are the results. If we are running, suppose, a calibrator as control once in a week, then we can see whether our results are accurate or not. If there is significant difference, we can recalibrate that parameter. Then we can avoid frequent calibrations. And that is the check on accuracy also.